Hello, my name is Mr. Psych. I'm high as and today we're going to talk about schoolyard rumors. As a gamer who's been playing for a while, I was kicking back enjoying a bowl of what was it? Should be around here somewhere. I think it was hold on. Oh, here we go. I was kicking back, smoking some horchata, and a random thought popped into my mind. Damn, I can't believe how much time I spent on the Black Omen in Chrono Trigger. Now, some of you, that just sparked a whole lot of questions. Well, why would you need to spend that much time on the Black Omen? What the fuck is Chrono Trigger? Who are you and what are you doing on my internet? Don't worry, sweet child, I'm here for you. Chrono Trigger is my favorite RPG game. It's a classic and has definitely been in a lot of what is the best RPG game of all time conversations. It was originally published by Square in 1990. Listen, this game is amazing and a ton, and I mean a ton, of videos already exist about how good this game is, how expansive its story is, and how awesome the team was behind it. I'm going to mention more here, but please, if you're interested, go high searching on YouTube or, you know, better yet, go play the fucking game. The mixture of talent when it came to development, its multiple and branching pathways both narratively and in gameplay, and its amazing iconic characters are all things I could talk about all day. But this isn't specifically what this story is about. You see, when Chrono Trigger came out, it was among a small group of console games that gave the player a lot of choice in how the game was played. It supplied multiple endings to your adventure. It was also the first game I personally ever played with the New Game Plus option, which allowed you to beat the game at almost any point of the story, and that also allowed you to get key parts for certain endings. Now, this was the first part of the devious concoction that led me to spending hours upon hours on the Omen. Don't worry, we will get there. Another part was the fact that when this game came out, the internet was, well, I didn't have that shit. When it came to how to beat a game, how to get behind the curtain in Mario Bros. 3, what was the best way to navigate the bike section in Battletoads, what was the Konami code, or how in the hell your friend got an image of Samus outside her suit, well, you really had to rely on the word of mouth from other gamers. Or someone's uncle. So with a game like Chrono Trigger, with so much making me invested, it was easy for me to get sucked way in and follow every lead. Which led me to a time when I was spending hours upon hours upon...
Get on with it.
Hours upon the floating time-defying castle in the sky, the Black Omen. However, to get to the Omen, you got to get through a lot of this game first. So grab your bong or your favorite edible and let me tell you a little bit about my favorite game. Maybe of all fucking time. Hello, I'm Mr. Psych. I'm high as fuck. And let's get into this video. If you started your gaming story around the OG NES into the Sega SNES era, then you might know that arcades were still alive, video games were the shit, and there was a lot of intersect within gaming communities. Comics, computers, anime, art, and so many other things drew people into the world of gaming. Now, I was a gamer before I watched any anime, but as soon as you can start blending your hobbies together, things start to get a little interesting. There were only a few anime being localized, and I didn't have a lot of friends in the world of anime at the time. So all I could access was Sailor Moon and DBZ, and half the time I had to watch at the station that broadcast in Spanish.
Eso quiere decir que eres un perdedor. Entonces esa es la razón por la que estoy en la Tierra.
This did not fucking matter to me at all. Watching the Sailor Scouts essentially rearrange the cosmos to defeat their foes, Kakarot fighting his unknown brother from some planet that he's supposedly from. Believe me when I tell you that the few friends I did have were definitely trying to do power-ups in front of the mirror. I may have tried to summon my magical girl powers more than them, but that's neither here nor there. The weed kind of got me here, but the point is I loved Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z more than anything at the time. And the way Chrono Trigger was first introduced to me was as follows. Hey, that makes Dragon Ball Z made a Super Nintendo game. Okay, so that's not a totally accurate statement, and I'll explain that, but this was my response. Holy shit, dope! So, Chrono Trigger wasn't created by Akira Toriyama. Akira Toriyama is attributed to the art direction, which is the reason why many of the Chrono Trigger characters would fit perfectly in the world of Dragon Ball Z. Akira Toriyama is, in my eyes, one of the reasons I got into anime and influences a lot of the art that I know and love as my favorites. Now, when I found out there was an RPG game made by my favorite anime creator, then I had to play it. I was already a pathetic fanboy of Square because of Final Fantasy, so I knew an RPG with this stupid fucking logo on it was going to be pretty good. Holy was this game good. Multiple characters with multiple unique quest lines, Dragon Ball art-inspired characters, ridiculous soundtrack, a new game plus, and what I myself had not experienced yet in game, the multiple endings. Game, hype, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to make the perfect experience in video games. But Mr. Psych accidentally added an extra ingredient to the concoction: playground rumors. Thus, this video was born. Using my ultra stoner powers, marijuana, games, and anime dedicated mind-numbing time fighting Cybots and the forces of Zeal. Now, before I get to the rumors and how they affected me, I gotta give some of that juicy, delicious Super Nintendo flavored lore. Did I say flavored? Let's just move on. Chrono Trigger has a lot of moving parts. Explaining all the lore here would take quite some time. Plus, if anyone hasn't played this classic and wants to jump in, there are so many fun little things to find and enjoy that laying it all out here wouldn't be as fun. However, to really feel what I put myself through, you need to understand a bit. And you also need to understand how easy it would be to think that there could be some tiny little unknown secrets buried within this game. Remember, and I'll probably mention this a few more times, when this game came out, there was almost no way to confirm anything about anything in almost any video game. The most kids had at the time was the possible monthly subscription from a game magazine. You're lucky if the issue of the month actually covered the game you wanted to read about. They couldn't cover everything. We also started to see the rise of places specifically to get games, like game shops and card shops. There you might get lucky enough to find the well-connected clerk who has played all the games you want to buy and knows all the secrets contained within. This was a good source of info, but also where some of the mentioned rumors could start. The only other thing I can really think of were specific manuals for the game. Hold on a second. God damn! I just looked up the prices of Chrono Trigger Player's Guide and man, old classic games and anything around them is expensive as fuck now. Sheesh. Anyways, the thing about strategy guys is they weren't in every store. Video games were not as mainstream as they are now. The SNES was a big contributor to the push of getting game consoles in more and more households across the world. But why would a toy store carry a player's guide for every game when only one kid would come in and ask for it and probably not even be able to afford it? And full disclosure, at the time I played this game, I didn't know there was even a guide for it. I also know that sometimes things are in games that are not included in the guides. One time way back, I wrote into a Game Informer because their guide on Mega Man X said that Chill Penguin's power is what beats Sting Chameleon. If none of those words made any sense to you, what the fuck are you doing? Go play Mega Man X. Go play that shit. So the only way I was going to figure out anything about the unknown secrets for this game was by word of mouth. Or to say it another way, playground rumors. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So in a game like Chrono Trigger, it was easy to get lost in the sauce. First and foremost, Chrono Trigger is about time travel. Time travel isn't what makes the game so beloved, but it is the reason why you have so many avenues to get invested in the characters of the world. Almost every character, except for the 3 you essentially start with, have a time period they are from. There are 6 major timelines, with the time period the main protagonist Chrono is from being where you start, sort of like the game's present time. Time travel in any sense can get confusing, but they did a great job keeping things straightforward for young people playing the game. The timelines were the past, that's 65 million BC, basically dinosaur times in the game. The Middle Ages, 1200 BC, which in this game is kind of like Dark Ages, but maybe Enlightenment, more technology, people discovering magic, the advancement of man. Something happens here that creates a weird rift, and things sort of take a backslide, but we'll touch on that later. 600 AD is like a medieval era. Knights, kingdoms, societies. The pieces of technology and magic are scattered at this point, but the wonderful mixing of technologies that shouldn't exist and the magic aspect make this game's world exactly what it is. Swords and shields clash against robots and things a lot in this game. This era kind of shows the beginning of how they affect humanity. In 1000 AD is where you start. This is where the protagonist is from, and what the game gives you, or presents to you, as the present time, presents as the
Yes, get on with it!
Okay, we're moving on. 1999 AD is where things kind of pop off. This is the apocalypse point. In the game, it's known as the Age of Lavos. See, Lavos is the game's big endgame monster. Maybe not the main bad guy per se, but the main reason why the team gets roped into an adventure bigger than they initially set out for. We're going to touch on Lavos more later, but in this era, Lavos emerges from the center of the planet and essentially does an extinction level event and changes the world forever. In 2300 AD, it's kind of the game's future. In the game's standard timeline, the day of Lavos happened and the people are scarce, starving, and living underground at this point. There are biomes that protect them from the weather, and everybody is underground, kind of like a nuclear winter or the aftermath of a meteor crash. The world has been devastated and mankind has not yet reset. There's one other time period that exists known as the End of Time. This is more of a space than a time period and represents something more outside the timeline. Merging of time, or I guess unmerging maybe? It's supposed to be a kind of mystical and unknown thing. Time is already complicated enough, but I like this idea of a space beyond time. Kind of makes the underlying story hold. It's also sort of a hub that acts as a rest space for the players to train, and they can think about their next move or change party member, and you can also travel to other timelines from this space. The game had multiple endings, multiple unique character quest lines, multiple weapon paths, and multiple team combinations you could play the game with. So many threads to pull out with many NPCs and dialogue to discover. So when people started playing this multi-hour RPG, there was a lot to talk about. The surrounding kids that were invested in the game were talking about things they'd found, things they thought they might find, and things they'd heard. Oh boy, the things that we heard. This led to so many trying to be the first ones to find new tech, discover a new weapon, or find a secret no one had. I spent quite some time trying to do just that. Discover a secret I had heard about, but no one had yet discovered. Not only did I play a lot of game hours on this, but I revisited the game multiple times growing up because I wasn't able to verify the authenticity of these rumors. Until I had good access to the internet. Which, and this is kind of important, even once we got the internet, woo! Woo! And most people didn't have it, trust me. But even once we got the internet, it was not great. That shit sucked. You're probably thinking, Mr. Psych, shut the f*** up and tell us about the damn rumors. To that I say, yeah, you're probably right, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to give the unnecessary, because this game is very old, disclaimer that I'm going to be talking about stories and endings here. So I guess spoiler alert for this very old game. However, I still strongly suggest you just play this shit for yourself. Alright? Okay. But I'm going to talk about the endings. Alright? Okay, are we good? Also, this is going to be the fun section for me. So right about now, I'm going to smoke it up. Feel free to join. Woo! 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 Woo, boy. I love this game so much. When you start your journey, you wake up as a young protag Chrono. And just looking at him set my DBZ brain off. Yeah. The game presents a small town where you see the wonderful flavor of the people who live there. Your loving mom wakes you up. You're going to a fair to meet your inventor friend. Things are lively and people seem to have a general good vibe about the kingdom they live under and the community that they are in. After some shenanigans, you bump into the current princess of the land, masquerading Princess Jasmine style, and then the two of you go to an awesome display of technical know-how from your inventor friend named Luca. Then you're RKO'd out of nowhere into the past. When you head to the past, the story is still surprisingly grounded. You're trying to save Marl, that's the masquerading princess, from the more dangerous past to maintain the timeline. Messing with the royal family that established your hometown could make things screwy, and Luca, being as smart as she is, recognizes this. Some good stuff happens here, but this isn't where we need to be. Just go play the damn game. Please, please, go play it. After doing your duty to maintain the timeline, some misunderstandings happen, and you're forced to run from these forces of the current timeline's kingdom. Once cornered, your escape is another time gate that you are pretty damn lucky is there. Those who know, but you're pretty lucky that shit was there. Which, unknown to the player, is about to shove you into the future, far beyond the time when Chrono, Luca, and the gang are from. This era is bleak, and all the player really knows at this point is some shit went down and things are way messed up. You learn about the plight of the people here, fight some weird enemies, and find out about what the hell's happened. That being Lavos. Through some exposition and some computer mainframes, the team finds out that somewhere between their time and the future they're in, a creature or being or parasite or whatever barges out of the ground and rains down fire and some sweet, ominous music upon the world. This is the big old nug of the story. What is Lavos? Can we do anything to stop it? What the fuck is going on? The story is fantastic as you progress. You travel the timelines to unravel the secrets of Lavos. As the story goes on, you travel the timelines to help out specific characters. Eventually, you'll gain the ability to travel freely through the timelines through gates, figure out what Lavos is, what might stop him. Lavos, as a being, is a world-eating parasite by design. Later story and games will make Lavos more convoluted, but at the time, he's just presented as a big parasitic creature that is not from our world, and possesses a power that we just don't get. Once inside the planet, it assimilates and feeds off the world until it can emerge, created spawn from the planet's energy, and they can move on to a different planet and repeat the cycle. While traveling with your crew through time and reaching the 12,000 BC era, or the Dark Ages, you find that things aren't as dark as they seem. There's a small group of very enlightened humans within a floating city known as Zeal. They've discovered magic, have seemingly advanced technologies, some of which you've only seen in either the present or future era. The kingdom of Zeal is run by Queen Zeal. She is a powerful and mysterious woman. All things seem to revolve around her and her ideals in this kingdom. She is the queen after all. However, as you dig more into it and speaking with her son Janus and her daughter Shala, sorry, it's Shala to me, because that's what it was at the time. I don't know. That's just what I'm gonna call her, okay? You start to find out that some of this technology and magic is directly from the society's attempt to commune, understand, and even summon Lavos. For some reason, the queen and her children can use their magic to interact with Lavos in some ways. Whether or not it's a direct connection is not really known in the game and not important right now. The queen is using her power and knowledge to try to summon Lavos, while her daughter and some of the others around them know that this is dangerous and would prefer to use their magic to leave well enough alone or try to stop the creature from having its way. Quick aside, earlier in the game, you find a character that, while clearly marketed as a main character, being one of the baddest ass design characters and having an important role to play in the storyline known as Magus, he is an optional pickup for your team. You don't have to get him, but his story and skills are not worth skipping. When you first confront him in the medieval era, he is seen trying to summon Lavos, at least that's what the player thinks. He's tied in later when you find out he is actually Janus, son of the queen, and he wants to summon Lavos because he's pissed off at what happened to his crib, and not because he wants to destroy everything. He has his intentions for wanting to do this, but he does a lot of bad shit to get where he is, so I could see some people not wanting him on the team. Shala and Janus both have their reasons to want to care for their clearly lost mother, but also use their power to stop Lavos in their own way. Despite Shala not being a playable character and Janus / Magus from now on being optional, they are both very important keys to the story and the multiple ways you can approach the game after the main storyline has given you all the goodies, and you can just move around time to decide how you want to finish and traverse the game. So we have Lavos trying to eat the world, Queen Zeal trying to bring on that collapse with hope she can be at the center of it all, at least I think that's what she was doing, Shala, who seemingly has the only natural power to stop her mother, and a crew that wants to stop the Day of Lavos by any means. During what I would call the biggest moment before towards the endgame, a lot of things come to a head. An unexpected encounter with Lavos happens with the team when the queen is able to essentially go through with her summoning ritual in the Dark Ages. Shala and Chrono both get lost to time. Chrono for a bit, but Shala mostly indefinitely. Magus gets thrown to the Middle Ages, where he starts his crusade to resummon the monster who tore up his home, and a giant floating black palace rises from the spot where the queen finishes her ritual, known as the Black Omen. Where she can absorb the power of Lavos over the years and become the god or deity or whatever she wants to be when Lavos emerges. I don't know. Immediately after this, you're given a flying time travel machine and the game says, here you go, figure it all out. You got a lot of paths to finish the game. During this endgame section, you can fly to different times and work on character-specific quests. You can figure out the different branching ways to fight Lavos, and depending on when and where you fight, the game gives you different endings. Some of the best quest lines in the game, in my humbly high opinion, are the quests for each character's ultimate weapons. Ultimate weapon quests in Squaresoft games, where they exist, are always very involved. Sometimes annoying and obscure, and usually flesh out the character the weapons are associated with. Chrono Trigger was no exception. Almost every character has a unique quest line that, for the most part, leads to a powerful weapon or tool, and Chrono Trigger does a great job making sure that these quests flesh out the characters and make you more invested. One of my favorites is for Robo from the future. In the Middle Ages, there's a woman desperately trying to save a forest. After some shenanigans, Robo volunteers to stay behind the timeline to help her cultivate the forest. You can jump through time, so leaving him in the Middle Ages and going back to Chrono's timeline, you find a lush forest that has been cultivated by the unaging robot. He's covered in greenery and has been cultivating a tiny amber in his chest. Once he's recovered, he's more reflective of what he did. The forest stands for a beacon of his work, and if you have any type of soul, you walk away feeling a better appreciation for Robo's kindness. This isn't necessarily Robo's ultimate weapon quest, but you get the idea. These quests are involved and bring you closer to the character. Figuring these out with any real sort of guide was so rewarding as a young tuber. Hey, maybe I can get that stick. Finding these first gave you free bragging rights. Getting everything was a sense of accomplishment for someone who liked the game as much as me. And I got them all, every final weapon, every unique quest line, and all 15, yes, there are 15 endings. Then I used my New Game Plus file to do it all again and again. Now I have a lot of hours in this game because it was my favorite game. But after a while, you feel like you've found everything, people start to want more. Sometimes I think this was the biggest reason rumors happened, that hunger for more game. However, it's easy to see with so many moving tentacles. I don't know why I used that imagery road there. But it's easy to see why people would think that they missed something. It definitely took a long time to feel like I had confidently found everything since I had no way to confirm it. The kids started to talk and I started to listen. There were plenty of weird rumors that were easy to dismiss and disprove. I remember one, hey, you can turn Frog back into a human before the end of the game. Yeah, based off the story, how it unfolds, this one didn't make any sense and it was easy to just throw away. One thing that hung around like a delicious smoke cloud in my mind naturally, with no rumors and no suggestions from other players, just naturally, was what the fuck happened to Shala? In the future, new games would tie up this loose end, but at the time, the characters seems like they were going to play a much bigger part in the story. And Magus, being one of my favorite characters, made me very interested in his lore, and most of his story has a lot to do with getting vengeance for his home against Lavos and figuring out what happened to his sister. These thoughts swirled into my brain like a typhoon, and it eventually led to many hours down two specific roads. One day while running around, as kids do on the playground, an equally nerdy and obsessed friend of mine said, hey, did you hear about Chrono Trigger's 16th ending? 16th? No! I was the Chrono Trigger master. I was the one that told some of my friends about the secret weapon quest. The new, figuring out the Sunstone. What was I hearing right now? I I'm bringing up this rumor first because I later found out in life that this wasn't just a rumor around my water fountain. The story was, as such, in some way unknown to us, of course, you could, in a 16th ending, figure out a way with Magus in your party to save Shala and bring her back. Holy shit! Holy shit! There's something I have. There's something I haven't discovered in this game. I can save Shala. I can find out more about Magus. Maybe get a special item. How did I not know? I thought I found everything. I was already excited to discover something new in my favorite game. I also want to be the first one to make it happen. Kids find ways to be little shits though, so I got a second rumor told to me on that deadly playground. Chrono's final weapon quest leads him down a fun quest line where you find the rarest material in the world, and after some time, you take that rare material to the best craftsman in the world, and then, you know, he crafts you the best blade for Chrono in the game. Bada bing, bada boom, you got a rainbow sword. And the rainbow sword's pretty cool because it fills the screen with a sweet rainbow trail when you swing it. But if there was one more, but what if there was one more? Remember the Black Omen, that floating palace the queen summoned? Completing the game through the Black Omen path line is how you get what most would consider the most complete end. The Omen can only be accessed fully in certain timelines. The Omen is mysterious and caused a lot of natural speculation amongst gamers. Why can't I access here? Why can't I access it there? If it is even possible to access it in the locked areas. What happens if I go in and beat the game with different party members? So on, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Again, a lot of things that were easy to test and disprove for the most part. But when I heard, hey, you know that door in the Omen you can't use? There's actually a way to get in there. And inside is Chrono's true final weapon, the Time Cutter. Oh! I don't have Chrono's final weapon now. There's more to the Omen. How did I not know this? So 2 rumors, locked and loaded in my little child brain. 2 missions ahead of me. A lot of determination. I set out into my world, my favorite game world, with fresh eyes and a lot of excitement to discover these secrets. I banged my head up against the wall and spent a lot of time wasted, but I just wanted to be known before I go on. The big feeling that I get when I look back on this time it's mostly joy. It's joy. When I think about it and look back, I feel joy. Right? But holy did this destroy my heart at the time it happened. I beat the game with party members rearranged in every order I could think of. I methodically smashed my confirm button on every wall. I spoke to every NPC any way that I could. I tried to figure out how to glitch time portals to find secret ways onto the Omen. I tried to discover a way to clone Shala. I read every log. I became the master of time. I couldn't begin to calculate the hours I spent in that world. I wanted to be the one to find the Time Cutter and use its power to destroy Lavos and reunite Shala with her brother. I asked anyone who had played if they'd found it, only sometimes to have the rumors reinforced by people also looking and scouring the world for the same stupid things. After trying and failing at nauseam, after hours upon hours upon hours, I was finally sad enough to put the game down and move on to something else. With this weighted feeling that my favorite game was not complete. As time moved on and I reflected, I remember being so connected to every character, discovering all the lands, traveling across time, and having a huge feeling of accomplishment that I probably found everything the game had to offer except for those 2 little niche secrets. As the internet has evolved now, every secret and every nook and cranny, yes, I'm old, of every game is pretty much at your fingertips. Which eventually led me to discover that these secrets didn't exist. Even before that, when the sequel, and I use that term very lightly, Chrono Cross came out, the rumor of Shala being able to be saved in Chrono Trigger was dispelled because, well, she's in the game. I kind of get this weird feeling sometimes. Although I spent hours and hours in a game trying to find secrets that didn't exist, it was fun to have something to look forward to and something unknown. With the ability the internet gives us to easily know everything, there's no longer big mysteries in games. Sometimes gaming companies do a good job hiding things for the initial playthrough, but within days and sometimes hours, the internet knows. It's fun and usually revered when a game nowadays is able to hide away an Easter egg that gets discovered years later. And that's a stretch because they usually get discovered way before years later. It's just rare and very difficult to pull off with the internet. So then I get to asking myself, which one's better? The defeat I felt when I was young was a true and painful stab. I still, in a hopeful and naive way, wish that maybe something still gets discovered. However, unlikely in my favorite game. Maybe a remake comes out and they add a little nod, you know? Hey, look at, here's the sword. But the stab I felt when I was able to Google search and find out the secret simply didn't exist was strange as well. When I think about game secrets now, I get an image of a giant thumbnail with big arrows pointing at the corridor. I need to walk down that corridor to find the secret. Going in blind is always possible, but as a habitually online person, it's very difficult. Plus, other people have the same access and they still talk about stuff at the water cooler, but it's usually, did you find X at X yet? Oops, spoiler alert. There's something very satisfying about trying to find secrets on your own, trying to be the first one. This game always reminds me of that pure joy that my younger self got trying to discover something truly secret that no one at that point had found, at least to my knowledge. In my favorite game, with my favorite characters. I don't know if I have that same feeling in me anymore because except for some outliers, secrets Jesus Christ, that's a rough sentence. I don't know if I have that same feeling in me anymore because except for some outliers, secrets don't stay secrets for long. Going in blind, discovering secrets, wasting time. I don't know what is the best way to play the games you want to play. I can say though, if you never got to enjoy trying to find an unknown secret or even a vague rumor in a game, make it a point to try a game you know little about. Challenge yourself to play through the next game you're excited for as unknown as possible. Most importantly, remember there's no one way to enjoy a game. It's okay to be bad at a game. It's okay to want to wander around even if it's not optional. And it's fun to chase rumors every once in a while. Video games are meant to be enjoyed. We may have lost access to true secrets and the rumor mill will quickly be dispelled by the interwebs. However, memories like these always stand out to me as one of the reasons I enjoy games so much, and the pure joy I got getting lost in a game world even if there wasn't really anything new to obtain there. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Got any memories from gaming that brought you joy? Is there anything that video games have lost over time? Comment down below so we can reminisce on some good times. Remember to like the video if you want to see more stories like these, and always remember to be kind to each other. Alright, peace.